Hello, this video is a walkthrough of the patch Extra Life from the Moog Subharmonicon and Mother-32 Exploration Patch book. I'll examine the patch and see how it's put together, give you some ideas how to explore the patch, and show you how I got from the original patch to what we're hearing now. I spent a few hours today messing around with this patch and filmed it all. I edited it down to what I think might be the most interesting bits, but there's an index in the description if you want to skip around. So let's get started. Okay, let's start with getting all the knobs and the positions they've got mapped out for us and take a look at the internal routing. So it looks like on the Mother we've got a square wave that's going to have its pulse width modulated by the triangle LFO. The filter is in low pass mode and is being modulated by the envelope generator. On the Subharmonicon, we've got both oscillators set to square waves as well. Pitch for oscillators 1 and 2 is being modulated by sequence 1 and 2 respectively. Sequence 1 is being clocked by rhythm generator 1 and sequence 2 by rhythm 2. The oscillators are being constrained to ±1 octave and quantized to 8 equal tempered pitches, major scale or mode of major, and the envelope generator is being triggered by the sequencers. Okay, let's go through the patches. So we've got clock out of the Subharmonicon into tempo in on the Mother. Turn both sequencers on. Yep. So the Subharmonicon is clocking the Mother. So tempo is controlled by Subharmonicon. Okay, so far so good. Next patch. Let's take VCO2 of the Subharmonicon and send it to external in on the Mother. This is a cool idea. So oscillator 2 of the Subharmonicon is added to the Mother-32's voice. The mix control on the Mother controls the balance of Mother's VCO and Subharmonicon oscillator 2. Okay, let's patch the KB CV out of the Mother. In this case, the KB out is Mother's sequencer pitch CV out into Subharmonicon's VCO1 pitch in. The Subharmonicon's pitch inputs are internally normaled, so even though I patched into VCO1, it will also affect VCO2. If I turn off sequencer 2 assign, you can hear they're in unison. So now the sequencers on the Subharmonicon as well as the sequencer on the Mother are affecting both voices of the Subharmonicon. If you watch the steps advance on sequencer 2 of the Subharmonicon, with the Subharmonicon still muted, we can clearly hear how both sequences are affecting oscillator 2 of the Subharmonicon. Alright, let's listen to VCO1 of the Subharmonicon. Let's turn off sequence 1 assign. So now the pitch of oscillator 1 is just being affected by the Mother sequence, but obviously the envelope is being triggered by the sequence. Now we've got both sequences affecting the pitch. There's Mother's, both sequences. Let's bring back oscillator 2 on the Subharmonicon. Let's try sub 1. Cool. Okay, let's get the filter modulation happening for the Mother. In this patch, and I think all of the patches in this book, the assign out of the Mother is set to random CV out and is used to modulate both the Mother and Subharmonicon's filters. So we can hear it clearly. For now, I'm going to take the assign out and plug it directly into the mult. Go into global parameters here, make sure we're on page 1 and parameter 8. We're all set, good. And I'm patching directly out of the mult into the cutoff CV in on the Mother-32. Okay, we can clearly hear the random CV modulating the Mother's filter. Pretty drastic changes, but cool. Alright, to tame the filter modulation, we're going to use the mixer on the Mother-32 as an attenuator. So patch the assign out into the VC mix into and the VC mix out into the mult input. If there's only one thing going into the mixer, it obviously acts as an attenuator. So now the VC mix knob controls the amount of filter modulation. If I turn it clockwise, get more. If I turn counterclockwise, get less. It's fun playing with this knob and getting variations in the modulation amount, but we might want our hands for something else, so let's set that up to happen automatically. So I'm going to patch the triangle LFO out into the mix control knob input. So now my LFO is acting as an invisible hand, turning that VC mix knob. Can make him go really fast. Get kind of FM sound almost. Go back to a kind of a slower speed. Sounds more natural. Okay, so we've got the LFO modulating the VC mix knob, which in turn is modulating the amount of filter modulation. But why not go a step further and modulate the LFO speed as well? In this patch, Moog decided to use the sequence CV out of the Subharmonicon to do that. So let's patch sequence CV out of sequence 2 to the LFO rate in on the Mother. All right, at the moment it's sounding pretty good, lots of variation. But the sequence CV out is being attenuated internally. If we long press the sequence octave button until it flashes, the CV out will no longer be attenuated. You can follow the steps of the sequencer and listen to the rate of the LFO change. Okay, sounding pretty good. Let's go on to the next step. Okay, now let's take a closer look at what's going on with the Subharmonicon. Okay, I'm going to turn off all the sub-oscillators and we'll just listen to oscillator 1. I've detached the Mother from VCO 1 so we can check the tuning. I've tried a couple of these patches and I forgot to make sure the oscillators were in tune before I did them, and that was a mistake. Okay, if we just listen to sequence 1 for a second. Yeah, it sounds like it's playing a sus2 triad. And sequence 2 sounds like the 3rd, the 7th, and the 2nd. Okay, so we have essentially got a major 9 chord. Alright, with that in mind, let's get rid of this sequence and just start from scratch. Start with something nice and simple, just one note. Okay. But I'm going to patch the KBCV back into VCO1 CV in. Okay, now I'll just play around with the volumes of the oscillators and try to get a good balance between the octaves. Sounding pretty good. Now the tempo knob on the Mother-32 acts as a clock divider or multiplier. I like that. All right, things are starting to come together. Let's initialize that sequence and erase it. And, oops. There we go. Let's make a simple sequence just with octaves for now. Alright, let's play around with the envelopes on the Subharmonicon a bit and get sort of a smoother sound. This is different from the Moog patch, but sort of fits what we're doing a bit better. Alright, one of my favorite tricks to get an ADSR type sound from the Mother on a patch like this is to turn the VCA mode to on with short attack and decay settings. Obviously not really an ADSR, just a drone, but sounds great. Okay, let's get some filter modulation happening on the Subharmonicon now. So we're going to take a patch from our mult and plug it into the cutoff on the Subharmonicon. Okay, in the factory patch, they've got oscillator 2 going into the mother's external input. Let's use sub oscillator 2 instead. That way we're going to have a little bit more control. All right, let's just listen to the mother for a second with the sub oscillator 2. And we can pick harmonies now. It's a bit too low. That's nice. Okay, that's the Extra Life patch. Okay, it's a cool patch, but let's go a couple of steps further now. So I guess the first thing I'm gonna do is take the random CV that's modulating the Subharmonicon's filter, patch it into channel 2 of maths, which I'm going to invert, and then send into the cutoff. So now the filter modulation, when one synth's getting bright, the other one's getting dark. Okay, that might be a little too much filter modulation. The VC mix knob on the mother still is our attenuator for the filter modulation, so let's experiment with that a bit and find the sweet spot. Okay, it's still pretty drastic, so let's patch the assign out into maths and use maths to attenuate and get a little bit more control that way. That's better. Okay, let's patch Subharmonicon's trigger out into trig input on channel 4 of maths. And we'll do some cross patching out of channel 4 into channel 3. Out of channel 3 into rhythm 1, rhythm input 1 on the Subharmonicon. By playing with the rise of channel 4, we can offset or delay the trigger signal from the Subharmonicon. And in this case, channel 4's mix knob is attenuating the amount of modulation, while channel 3 is inverting it. Could get the same result by simply using the attenuverter on channel 4, but this way we've got a little bit more control. Okay, I'll plug that back in. Yeah, that's cool. Let's go with a shorter attack. And let's speed it up a bit. Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with that. Let's try some more rhythmic variation. And let's tinker a little bit. So adjust the attenuation on channel 3 a bit. And just play with the filter on the Mother. That's nice. A little bit more rhythmic variation from channel 3. A little bit more random modulation with the VC knob, and let's offset the trigger a little bit more with channel 4, rise. Filter up a bit on the Subharmonicon. Okay, I think we're starting to get somewhere now. Let's get the delay. I'm just using my old Sony TCM 5000 here. It's just an old 3-head cassette recorder that I did a little bit of modification, but it's pretty much stock. And I'm using the AI synthesis tape interface module. There's our delay. Okay, this patch is starting to sound pretty good. Let's just do a little more tinkering, playing with the envelopes and filters. Okay, our patch is coming along, but let's take a look at the Subharmonicon sequence and see if we can, or sequences, and see if we can get something a little bit more interesting. Okay, I'm just going to turn off all the oscillators of the Subharmonicon, so we're just listening to the Mother and oscillator 2 of the Subharmonicon through the Mother external input. And just find something a little bit nicer here, playing with sequence 2. You can, of course, just go step by step and push the trigger button to find a nice harmonic sequence, but I like to do it in real time. Sounds like it's out of sync. Stop it for a second, reset the sequence. Okay, that's better. This is just the Subharmonicon going through the Mother. So the Mother's just playing a F and C, but the Subharmonicon, we've got an F, A, and a C. Little F major thing going on. And let's bring the Subharmonicon down an octave. Actually, we'll just put it back to where it was. Okay, let's mute Mother and take a listen to the sequence that sequence 1 is playing. There's that tape delay. Sounds pretty good for a little cassette machine. Okay, let's tune this sequence up. But not getting the notes I want, so I'm going to 12-tone equal temperament. There we go. Now we've got F, G, A, and C. Okay, that's it. Let's listen.